Stand by for broadcast.
You're listening to Inside Air, a behind-the-wire view of the Royal Air Force, its people, technology and operations.
Hi, I'm Flight Lieutenant Chris Solly and welcome to the latest RAF Inside Air podcast. Today we're talking cyberspace with the Cyberspace Profession's implementation team based at RAF Cosford.
So this is a watershed moment, but I think the watershed moment comes from that aligning with what industry is doing. So no longer will Cyberspace Profession be speaking a language that only makes sense within cyberspace. We're now going to be speaking in a language which is understood by people in a lateral position, people in the reserves and people in industry as well.
If we look at it from the outside of people that are looking to join the RAF, it's a more of a transferable skill set that we can say, this is what we do, this is what you can get, or have you done this before? And especially with the reserves, we're doing a lot of work with the reserves now, that makes that entry point a little bit easier because we understand skill sets.
That work would have probably taken 4 to 5 months to be able to do if we were doing it just as humans, analysing a framework and then trying to figure out which job went into which slot. But with 3 passes of the data through the AI machine that we were using, we got a 95% accurate output.
As you might expect, we'll also reheat a few stories which could have slipped under your radar, and we'll be finding out who's under the hat this week with AS1 Ben Russell.
Hardest part of your job?
Changing jobs every few years makes you a jack of all trades and a master of none, but then it has opened up many other opportunities outside of engineering for me too.
Cyberspace is a domain we're hearing more and more about, and its importance to every aspect of what we do, day in and day out, is growing. But when we talk about cyberspace, what exactly do we mean? How far does it reach into our lives? Who are the people who can help us navigate through? And what if you think you might have what it takes to join the RAF Cyberspace team? To help us get a handle on all of that, we're joined on Inside Air today by Flight Sergeant Debs Roberts and Flight Sergeant Matt Cryer, who are part of the Cyberspace Profession's implementation team based at RAF Cosford in Shropshire. Debs and Matt, welcome to Inside Air. First of all, tell us a little bit about your RAF journey so far and how you ended up with the Cyberspace team.
Good morning, Chris. Thank you for having us. So I joined the RAF 21 years ago and I've had a variety of jobs in that time. I started off as just a communications operator, just sending secure messaging, moved on to help desk management for an air platform. Then I went to a secure video teleconferencing role, which was fascinating. Then on to customer management, and then something completely different. I went to be a defence trainer, and from doing defence training, that opened up my eyes quite a lot. I was working with lots of NCOs and officers to deliver phase 3 training, and then I moved into this team. So I was asked to come and run the project for the transformation of cyberspace, and I couldn't turn it down. So that's me.
Thank you, Debs. And Matt?
So I joined 19 years ago. Like most people, I just knew I wanted to join the RAF. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I sort of just was like, I fell into the engineering space really, and from there it sort of took off. So I've gone through quite a colourful journey. I've worked in tactical communications, sort of going in doing initial comm solutions, going then into air platform support, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. But as our capabilities and our aircraft become more digital, we have then had people that then surround that, which we've not really seen before in previous platforms. So I've worked with Rotary and then into Typhoon, which was such a great time during my career, and got to travel the world, which was really good. And then from that back into radar world, and then I was at Waddington, but much like Debs, had the opportunity to join the team and help influence what the next steps in digital and data look like, and took that opportunity to I've arrived about a few months before Debs, so we're quite new in this journey, which is really good.
Excellent stuff. Let's bring this right back to basics to start us off. When we talk about cyberspace, what exactly are we talking about?
So I'm going to hand over straight away to Matt for this one, as his explanation is much better than mine.
I knew Debs was going to throw me under that bus then, so I was just waiting for that. So cyberspace is a really, it's a clunky name really, because we've got 2 words there, cyber, which is very much in everyone's minds right now, especially given stuff that's going on in the world, and then space, and we've put them together. But cyberspace is it's a human designed man-made domain that we now work in, so it doesn't exist without ourselves, so we can't just walk into it. It has to be created. So when we talk about cyberspace in the RAF, it's it's an electromagnetic domain, and we do everything from building a network to securing the network, to maintaining and managing the network, and then actually using the information that's on that to exploit information and then go into that space. So we go from building into exploit and exploitation and everything in between. So cyberspace is really from connecting one computer to another to then manipulating the data that goes inside of that. And we have such a diverse pool and really, really intelligent people that are working in that space and doing some really, really good stuff. But to coin a phrase of what is cyberspace, it's everything that we can make it. I think that's the best thing. So whilst it's very new and we're actually shaping a lot of what is going on in the world right now, and we're at that point edge, we can actually change what we're doing. Where previously we've not been able to do that in the Air Force, it's been given to us and we've had to work with that. Whereas we're now saying this is what this looks like, and we're changing how digital information is shaped, and that's a really, really important space to be.
And from what you're saying, it sounds like there are actually very few areas, from the sharp end through to booking leave and making sure you get your expenses paid, that it doesn't reach out into.
Yeah, absolutely, and everything that now, we're seeing digital and the use of apps and where that is, and actually how can we make things easier. We could be involved in that. So AI is probably the biggest thing that is being utilised, and Debs' team's actually crafted AI in a very, very important way. But AI is seen as it will replace us and it's going to get rid of jobs, and actually it's not. It's just working smarter, not harder. So if we can use something to standardise the routine, then why not do that and understand it? Of course, there's always going to be an issue that we have to check data and ensure it, especially in the military, to ensure it's secure and safe. But we've gone from sort of doing the mandrolic processes to being able to utilise digital to support us, and whether that is actually in an operational sense or, like we say, an easier way to put in your leave during the week, then why not do that and do that forward. So that's something that we've seen from a business world that's been able to help us, where previously we've not been linked into that. So that's where they are, and utilising that information to do there. But I think Debs has got some really good stuff on AI in the team.
And we'll come back to that, because I know there's a lot going into the AI side of things. The Royal Air Force now has its Cyberspace Profession implementation team, your team, based at RAF Cosford, as we mentioned. What's the idea behind that, and what does the team actually do at Cosford?
So the idea behind the Cyberspace Profession implementation team is that the RAF is going through a huge transformation project now with programme professions. And that is taking away trades and branches, which was how we were previously, where we'd have a communications engineer, we would have an aircraft technician, we would have a driver, a supplier, and it's bringing people into collections of skill or talent which is complementary to one another, which we're naming professions. So my team was formed to do the work for Cyberspace Profession. What we need to do is create a competency framework which addresses all of the skills and all of the competencies that we have within cyberspace, and then to articulate those into a competency framework. So that's what my team's doing. And what we decided to do straight off the bat was if we were going to create a competency framework, let's align that to what people are doing in industry. So we had a look out at what industry are doing, and there's a wonderful framework called Skills Framework for the Information Age, or SOPHIA, and I'll refer to it as SOPHIA from this point forward. And SOPHIA is an ICT framework essentially, and aligns remarkably with what cyberspace are doing. So what we're currently doing, or what we've just finished doing, is analysing every single piece of work that we do within cyberspace. And as you got from our introductions, is quite broad. So we've analysed all of those, and then we've had a look at what SOPHIA has, and we've mapped them together to say, let's use SOPHIA as the backbone, and then make sure that it just works within an RAF environment.
Dr. Arif Mustafa, the head of Cyberspace Profession, director of RAF Digital, described the establishing of the cyberspace profession as a watershed moment, sort of moving over from traditional engineering to the new way of doing things. Is that a feeling that's echoed across the team as well?
So this is a watershed moment, but I think the watershed moment comes from that aligning with what industry is doing. So no longer will cyberspace profession be speaking a language that only makes sense within cyberspace. We're now going to be speaking in a language which is understood by people in a lateral position, people in the reserves, and people in industry as well. And we're still doing all of those big engineering tasks. We're still heavily involved in radar and doing those really tactile skills, which are really unique and niche within our profession, all the way through to coding and cyber and beyond. And he's right. The aligning of all of that talent and all of those different activities that we do is fantastic. And it's a pleasure to be doing this right now.
Incredible times. What sort of people and trades make up the Cyberspace Profession team?
So within the Cyberspace Profession team, we have a plethora of talent, and we made sure that each person in the team brought in a unique offering. So myself, I came from my previous post as a defence trainer, so I brought in that training compliance side of the house. And then we were really fortunate to have a wonderfully talented young man called Danny come onto our team, who is our innovator. He came from a place where he was creating and teaching power apps for the whole of cyberspace, a course that he actually wrote and developed. So he's came on and he is our innovation champion. We then have Joe, who came from an air platform environment where he worked with air platforms for many, many years and came with a lot of operational experience. And then we've got Liesel, who is the person that keeps us all in track. And she is our administrator, and everything that we do to validate all of our work, she takes the lead on all of it. And how she gets it done, I have no idea, but big fan of her work. And then we're led by an incredible thinker named Amy. She's our flight lieutenant, and she is the person who goes out there and forges all of our really important connections with people like Sophia, and then the professional bodies like IET and BCS, to make sure that we're aligned professionally. And I'm just the glue in the middle, bringing all these people together. So we're incredibly lucky. There's a lot of diversity on the team, and it makes us all the more stronger.
And presumably having that interoperability between CV3 and within the RAF and the military itself is making it easier just to have those day-to-day conversations when you have issues or things you need to talk to others about.
Having that common language and aligning everything with a backbone of Sophia means that not only are we speaking in an industry language, but when we're working with third parties or people from other services or the civil service environment, it allows us to speak in a language where everybody has the same expectations and we're all working to the same standards as well, which gives us a strength and hopefully will save time when we're working in those cross domains, especially when you think about NATO partners or other nations. That critical language is so important to make us work in the best way possible.
Yeah, I think that common language is really important. Even internally in the military, it's been hard sometimes to provide that speak up the way of, what are you doing for me? But when we're working with industry, having that level playing field is really good. Whilst that's working with an industry partner, but actually, if we look at it from the outside of people that are looking to join the RAF, it's a more of a transferable skill set that we can say, this is what we do, this is what you can get, or have you done this before? And especially with the reserves, we're doing a lot of work with the reserves now, that makes that entry point a little bit easier because we understand skill sets. And now we can, instead of saying, this is what you'll come and join as a reserve, we can take that person and that skill set that they've got and say, we really need that person in that role to do that. And we've used that quite recently where we've got an industry level automation expert to come into the RAF and help us with something because we can't organically do it ourselves. And we brought that through the reserve to say, this is what we need from Sophia. And they've said, oh yeah, I can do that, I can come in. So we're already seeing the benefit of it before we've got through the gate. So like you say, that watershed movement is there to lean on that skill set outside of the RAF and internally as well, of how do we make ourselves better? Well, we make ourselves better by bringing those people in and helping us.
We talked about competencies and frameworks and everything else. What sort of competencies is it that make up the members of your team?
So again, I've got a really multi-diverse team. So we've got people who've come in with project management experience, and then other people who've got platform experience where they know all of the idiosyncrasies of platforms and what's needed where and when. And when it comes to looking through a skills framework and trying to figure out which skill is best out of two that are very similar, that type of experience is critical. And then with Danny coming in with his innovation, the skills that he has of actually being able to save us months and months worth of work. And then Liesel's ability to get bulk data, go out and convince a user audience that they can take the time to help us validate our work because she's so precise and accurate with how she's presenting it to them. And what could take hours, she actually does in 20 minutes with people, means that we're really efficient. And hopefully that's made our project come across well to other people, as well as working really well in-house. That multi-diversity has been critical.
We hear a lot of, thank you, Debs, we hear a lot about diversity and stuff, and this is ultimately the key strength of that, isn't it? Because you're not just, if we think of cyber, I guess people could just go, it's computer geeks, but you're not just looking for that, you're looking for people who are bringing much more to the party.
Absolutely. There's a place for everybody within cyberspace. And in particular for my team, we wanted that diversity. So all of the posts on the team were interviewed for to make sure that we had the breadth of experience that we could to make the team as strong as possible. Within cyberspace, that's true as well. There's a place for everyone. There's 26 different areas of employment that people can work within. And then within those areas of employment, there's multiple facets of different jobs that they can do as well, which makes cyberspace a really attractive offering because there's so much that can be done, and it often you never repeat the same job twice, which is really good for developing a skill set.
Very good. And Matt, you mentioned your previous experience was with airframes and things. Has there been lots of carryover? Has that stuff made the job easier?
In a way that I can understand certain aspects of when people are coming in problems, but I think where we're looking at now with future capabilities, so we're looking at the F-35 and new capabilities coming on out. They are 5th generation aircraft that are data hungry. We now live in a world where that system, and then that's what it is, it's a flying system, has big lines. So where we've worked with engineers before and I've had cyberspace, and there's very much they call them boundaries, but we see them more as a synergy working together. So a boundary means that you stop and you don't do it. Actually, ourselves and the engineers that fix them, without the two working together, can't support that. So bringing that to the party of the team, I can sort of articulate that up the way, because sometimes you do have people that are very much working in a comms world, so having the ability to walk through that and understand it has been really helpful. And I say Joe that's in the team as well, he's got a wealth of experience that's there, so that has helped as we look to build and we look to go forward. That's been a really, really important point. And I think you said there, diversity, we have to be diverse in what we do, and especially in the areas that I work in with cyber, so not cyberspace but cyber, that's more of a way of how you think than how you operate. So we don't just need comms people, we need people that are problem solvers, we need people that understand and look at things from a different perspective, because that's so key and important to making this work. Because if we all thought the same, we don't move in the direction we need to go. So that's been a key point.
Fabulous. We mentioned AI earlier on, artificial intelligence. It's playing a huge part in how you're doing things. And I know, Debs, you've been very involved in quite an exciting project with that.
Yeah, we were really incredibly lucky to be offered the opportunity to use AI for our particular project. We had 3,000 jobs to analyse within cyberspace, and because we knew that we wanted to align that to the Sophia framework, we wanted to use AI to do that work for us. So luckily, again, it was Danny came in as our AI lead and champion, and he taught himself, and he created parameters so that we could say to AI, this is what cyberspace looks like, this is exactly what we do, and this is Sophia. Can you have a look through Sophia and tell us what we do in cyberspace that is aligned with Sophia? And then he really cleverly put in lots of clauses that said, if you can't find it in Sophia, tell us the second best option, look at other frameworks, and if it doesn't exist anywhere, give us a flag and tell us what you think it might be. And he did that. That work would have probably taken 4 to 5 months to be able to do if we were doing it just as humans, analysing a framework and then trying to figure out which job went into which slot. But with 3 passes of the data through the AI machine that we were using, we got a 95% accurate output. And that output, what we would do is we would sit around a table, all the team together, and we went through everything. And we were really critical. We pulled it apart completely. And it was 95% accurate. That was just the team doing our internal validation. And then we passed it over to Liesl, and she then went out and did validation with all of our people within cyberspace as well. Well, all of the people that we'd selected to do validation events.
And the accuracy at 95% is, as you say, reflective of the team's ability to put the right questions, which is what AI is all about. But you must have been chuffed with that.
Yeah, we were incredibly pleased with it. Again, it saved us months and months of work by the AI doing the hard work, and then us just being able to do that critical action. And actually, it was so successful that 2 other professions approached Danny to ask him to help them do the same type of activity. So we were able to say, not only did we do it successfully, but we'd also learned a lot about making your parameters really tight, not forgetting that humans are a critical part of this action, and then trying to just encourage them to do that uber critical analysis at the end of it, and then do the final analysis of humans, not just the AI. We learned loads, and it was incredible.
You talked a little bit there about the team getting together and sort of around a table and collective collaborative working and that kind of thing. If there is such a thing, Matt, as a typical day for your team, what would it be?
So this is the new part we're seeing, where we work hybrid, and some of the arm of the team that I do is going out sort of doing a lot of face-to-face engagement. So the travelling salesman, if you will, sort of I'm on the road a lot, speaking to the units and doing that, which is really helpful, and linking in with Deb's team then, because I can sort of pass that information back through to say, I've been at this station today, we had this chat, this is what they're saying, and then feed that back, and having that big loop is really important. So we do a lot of hybrid working. For myself, obviously Deb's is at Costa, we try and get in there a few times a month just to have that chat, but we do make it an important time during the week to have that time to get together and have a chat remotely, and just make sure, and that's a big thing as we go forward, and we have a lot of hybrid working, is previously, if you're not working in an office with someone, of having the ability to chat to them and see them, and see where someone's maybe not firing on all cylinders, or they're a little bit run down, to see that online is not so easy to do. So we make that time in the day to do that and have a chat, and I think that's really important to do from a mental health perspective as well, and that's something we factor in. So the one thing I'd say, every day is not the same, which is good, and it's a challenge, and normally by 8:30 my day's not gone the way I've planned it, and I've started again, and that's where that problem solving comes in. But we speak regularly, we speak a lot, and it's a really good team cohesion, and actually sometimes having the ability to speak to each other a lot more often like that has built a really good team dynamic, which is really good.
What about from your side, Debs?
So for our side, we're slightly different. So here at RAF Cosford, we're in the office for the most time, working quite collaboratively and quite closely together. We all have separate parts of the project that we're in charge of at any one time, but the main thing with my particular team is that any critical decisions that need to be done, or any analysis that needs to be done, we get round a table and we do it together, from flight lieutenant all the way down to air specialist. Everybody's opinion counts, because everybody works in a slightly different way, and we really value the experience that people have had throughout their careers, which help our team get to the right decision to then push out to the profession. And then aside from that, I've got Matt as well, who's often remote and is doing lots of different types of activities. We've always got a regular heartbeat with one another to make sure that, first of all, are we having cross paths with little things that we're doing, but more importantly, probably, are we both okay? How is that high pressure environment working for them? And then sharing work out as well.
If somebody listening to Inside Air at the moment has had their interest piqued a little bit by what you've been talking about and the roles and that sort of thing, what's the next step if somebody wants to become a bit more involved?
So if somebody wants to become more involved with the cyberspace profession within the Royal Air Force, I encourage them to go straight to the RAF Careers website and just have a little bit of a look at what we do and make that contact straight away. The RAF, particularly cyberspace, offers a really fulfilling career where we have 26 different areas of employment just within cyberspace, and every single one of those 26 areas of employment has been professionally mapped to align with an industry standard. It's equally been mapped to professional registration standards as well, with BCS and IAT. So everything that we've done is professionalised and streamlined everything that we've done, everything that we do to what industry does. So that was a great start to any career. Additionally, we also offer an apprenticeship, which is a really valuable tool at the beginning of any person's career, no matter what you're starting.
That's for somebody outside of the organisation. For somebody in who's thinking of maybe retrading, looking at a different role, what about for them?
So I would say for anybody within the RAF already, come and speak to us within the profession advisory team, and we will show you all the routes that you can use to come into the cyberspace profession, and we'll show you the different ways that you can already check to see what your skills are like versus what we do within cyberspace profession as well. It's really easy now that we've aligned to Sophia. It actually allows people to have a really open playing field when it comes to what skills do I have, what do I need to get over. You'll be able to see it really plainly straight away. So come and speak to us in the advisory team, and we will talk to you as much as you need about what your options are going forward.
And what sort of roles? I think I read somewhere there was a 20 odd roles or something available. So it's obviously lots of different skill sets you're looking for here.
So within cyberspace profession, we've got 26 different generic roles, or 26 different areas of employment, and they can be from somebody working on a radar, operating, maintaining it, and doing really hands-on tactile skills, across to somebody working on a tactical team where they're deploying with equipment and setting that up in different locations and maintaining communications. You've then got coding, you've got cyber. There's a plethora of different activities. We've got infrastructure technicians who work at height and do high risk activities above and below ground. The possibilities really are endless within cyberspace. I know that sounds really cheesy, but there's so many different options available to people, all of them aligned. Every single activity has been aligned to give you a unique skill set that you could then take forward. And then in addition to that, it's all of the added on things that you get with the RAF about working around the world, traveling around the UK, being in environments that you wouldn't get within a bog standard job. It's all those extra things that we get as well.
And the training platform itself, the training package itself, what would happen if somebody registers an interest and starts going through that? Presumably someone from outside would do their basic phase 1 and then phase 2. What would that look like?
So anyone joining the RAF would go to RAF Halton and do their basic training, which helps them become an aviator and get used to life in the Royal Air Force. And then they would move on to their phase 2 training. And within cyberspace, you will go to either RAF Digby, where you'll go and do infrastructure training, or you will come to RAF Cosford, where you will do ICT training. And it depends on which entry stream that you choose to come into when you join cyberspace. The ICT training is 26 weeks long, and you will come to RAF Cosford and learn all of the foundational activities that you need to learn to then be effective when you go onto operations or when you get deployed onto your first unit. And the same at Digby, you will do your foundation training, you will get a plethora of skills out there. Again, all aligned to industry, and then you'll get out to your first posting where you'll be on a deployable team, or you'll go out on an operational tour.
And Matt, from the training perspective, from your side?
Yeah, so the school are doing some really pioneering stuff when it comes to training. So we're the first of the single services from the Army and the Navy and the RAF to introduce the Cyber Foundation pathway into that phase 2. So as Deb said, you come in, you do that phase 2. All of our graduates now finish with an indicator on them that says they've completed part of the Cyber Foundation pathway, which is huge as we go into this new world of cyber. So what that does is it allows them to say if they want a career in cyber, they can go forward and basically build on that. Whereas at the moment, people are having to self-generate that themselves and do that in their own time. We're already giving them that in there, and huge credit to the school for doing that, and I'll name drop him in Gaz Cochran that's led that and really opened the door. But we've now got, we're looking at the single service actually coming into the RAF and the Navy especially coming and saying, can you help us train into that standard? So we are at the top of that game, and we're doing that as well. So anyone that is thinking of that, yes, cyber is in the front of the title, cyberspace is there, but we do support cyber, so we are actually giving them the tools to go forward and build a career in cyber as they go in. And really positive point for anyone looking at training and opportunities. Fabulous.
Finally, I'm going to ask a question of both of you, which is basically, what's the best thing? And I'll start with you, Matt. What's the best thing, would you say, about the job that you're doing currently?
So for me, I think the best thing about my role in the team is my touch points to the rest of it. So I can I have such a wide reach that I can go in, I can speak to everyone, I understand it, and then I can push that back up to try and instigate that change. So for me, having the ability to go out and speak to everyone, to go out face to face, chat, help people with their problems, that's a big thing for me. And seeing what else is actually out there. And it's actually until I got to this position, I knew we were a very diverse trade in our profession, but actually seeing that from where we are, the career opportunities that are out there, and trying to then now give that ability for people to change what they can do. It's quite a rewarding job, challenging but rewarding, and I think that's the big thing for me, and I really enjoy that.
And same for you, Debs?
Incredibly similar to what Matt's just said, actually. It's a genuine honour to be able to do the work that we're doing for the 3,000 people within cyberspace. And I'm actually going to steal a saying that Matt always says, which is, what my team are doing right now is we're planting seeds for trees that we may never sit under. But it's such an honour to be able to create something for people going forward, which aligns us professionally and gives us that longevity, and means that cyberspace will only go from strength to strength as we go forward as an Air Force, for the next generation Air Force. So it's just a pleasure. It's a lot of pressure, but it comes with knowing that people are being looked after by someone who cares. So yeah.
Flight Sergeants Matt Cryer and Debs Roberts from the Cyberspace Professions implementation team, thanks for talking to Inside Air.
Thank you. Honestly, this has been lovely.
Thanks, Chris.
This is Reheat for Inside Air, where we take a look at some of the RAF stories you may have missed. I'm AS2 Chris Keane. The King has taken on 2 key honorary roles with the RAF as he marks the first anniversary of his reign. Buckingham Palace announced that His Majesty has become patron of the RAF Museum and the Royal Air Force Association in a move that celebrates his lifelong links with the service. Royal Air Force Typhoons have returned to the Black Sea region for enhanced air policing in Romania after conducting defensive counter-air missions in Poland for NATO exercise Astral Knight. Squadron leader Burnett was the detachment commander.
Working with the Polish Air Force has been a very good experience for our personnel. We've managed to integrate at all levels, not only from the aircrew side, but all the way down to our engineers and our technicians on the ground. They have modern aircraft, similar to our own, and are very keen to learn from us as we are from them.
Look into space, and it's been announced that UK Space Command's first satellite Tyche is en route to Vandenberg Space Force Base, where it will launch on the Transporter 11 rideshare mission with SpaceX. The launch is scheduled no later than July this year. The Sovereign's colour of the Royal Auxiliary Air Force was marched before His Royal Highness the Duke of Gloucester at Buckingham Palace to celebrate 100 years of volunteer reserve service in the Royal Air Force. It was actually the first time that the Sovereign's colour of the Royal Auxiliary Air Force has been paraded at Buckingham Palace, and to mark the occasion, a new Rorschach military march was premiered in front of His Royal Highness. And finally, the UK's new generation of Protector crews are on target to begin training in the UK for the first time as instructors with the RAF's iStar Academy return from the US. 54 Squadron and 56 Squadron personnel have been honing their skills with General Atomics at Grand Forks in Dakota, ahead of delivering an intensive training package designed to get crews to the front line in record time. And that was Reheat for Inside Air.
Thanks very much, Chris. And now it's time to find out who's under the hat with Ben.
I'm AS1 Ben Russell, and this is Under the Hat, where we get to know an aviator in less than a minute. Name you're known by.
Hi, I'm Wing Commander Manji Gatora, but everybody in the Air Force knows me as Manj.
What's your profession?
I'm an engineering officer and based at Air Command, the RAF's headquarters at RAF High Wycombe.
What's the best thing about your job?
Deploying all over the world, supporting not only our aircraft and people, but working with other nations. Sometimes only seeing how others operate is when you see just how impressive and professional we are. Makes you feel super proud.
Hardest part of your job?
Changing jobs every few years makes you a jack of all trades and a master of none, but then it has opened up many other opportunities outside of engineering for me too.
Best location you've served?
RAF Bryce Norton on 99 Squadron, supporting the UK's fleet of C-17s when our role was to bring back troops and equipment safely home from Afghanistan.
What bit of luxury kit do you never deploy without?
Noise-cancelling earbuds, whether just trying to listen to some tunes on the back of an aircraft or just wanting to chat to my family and friends, they're literally always with me now.
And what's your proudest moment in the RAF?
Oh, receiving my OBE from His Majesty King Charles last year.
Thank you, Wing Commander Manji Gatora, for helping us to engineer another episode of Under the Hat.
That's all for this episode of Inside Air. Please give us a review, subscribe via your favourite podcast app, and then join us again soon.
You've been listening to Inside Air, a behind-the-wire view of the Royal Air Force, its people, technology and operations. If you're serving in the RAF and have a story for us, please speak to your unit media and communications officer. Inside Air is written and produced for the Royal Air Force by RAF Media Reserves.